Psychedelics and spirituality, poison or panacea. So what I'm going to do in this video is hopefully bring a balanced and sort of grounded perspective to this subject. And I'm only doing this video because I've gotten just a large volume of questions, especially over the last couple of weeks, on this subject. So first and foremost, I want to declare that obviously this isn't going to be an exhaustive compendium of everything that can be said about this subject. No, what I'm going to do is share with you some pretty essential and important bits of information for anyone who's interested in or dabbling within this sort of niche or field. So obviously I'm not recommending or promoting the usage of these things because they're illegal and they're not substances or things which should be played around with or used delicately. Yet millions and millions of people are using these things on a regular basis, so we can't really just ignore it or pretend like it doesn't exist or just put it away in a box and make prohibition as sort of blanket statements. So first, what we're referring to in this video, and the substances that I'm referring to, would be essentially the plant-based psychedelics like cannabis, psilocybin mushrooms, peyote, ayahuasca, San Pedro, etc. So the first thing that we need to understand is that, number one, many people take these these plants, and have very positive, healing, life-altering experiences. Yet others take these same substances and have very negative, harmful experiences. Yet others abuse these substances and end up wrecking their lives. So that's kind of the first obvious thing that we need to understand and acknowledge, because many people, like I said, just want to say, oh my God, they're the greatest thing ever, and I had amazing spiritual insights, and etc. Or people want to say, oh, well, those are all bad, and it does this and that, so they must be all illegal and no one should ever do it. Really, it's kind of silly and ignorant and immature to have really either of those perspectives, because as illegal as you want it to be, millions and if not more people are still doing it on a regular basis, so pushing it in the closet isn't really too helpful. But then failing to recognize that it actually has very negative effects on some people is equally as ignorant as well, to just go out and say, oh my God, you should totally do this, it's awesome. So these are both topics and both points which we're going to explore more as this video progresses. So like I was saying, we can't really blame the substance and say, oh, well, it's good or bad. Because, for example, millions of people drink alcohol on a regular basis, and they're fine. They lead, normal, productive lives. They don't, they're not a social nuisance or disturbance. They're not, anything harmful to anyone else. Yet many other people drink alcohol and absolutely destroy their lives or destroy the lives of other people around them. So, in essence, we can understand that it's really more about the person and their habits and a lot less about the substance. So, another important point to understand is that these things seem to amplify what's already there. So they tend to make crazy and unstable people even more so. Yet they can also provide insight and clarity and sort of spiritual or cosmic awareness to other people. So from both of those points, we can understand how we can't really make just broad blanket statements on the subject. So to really encapsulate that point, there's a line in the movie Limitless, which if you haven't seen it, you definitely should. It's a great movie, where the guy says, yeah, it helps if you're already smart. So it's basically saying that he's in the guy's apartment, he's getting the stuff, and he's like, wow, it's amazing, I opened my mind, I was able to write a book, etc. And the guy's response is, yeah, it helps if you're already smart. And if you look at it, and look at the various characters in the movie who use the substance, you can kind of see exactly kind of what we're saying here. So while I mentioned that for many people it provides insight and clarity and these great experiences that are very expansive, this can definitely be a trap and become very alluring to become a fanatic about such things. But we need to realize that these plants are not tonic herbs, and they shouldn't be used on a regular basis. And they're in no way, shape, or form a replacement or a surrogate for actually doing work on yourself in regards to changing your thoughts or changing your lifestyle or changing the things around you. And we also need to understand that there's obvious cultural differences between us living in the modern world in all of the other cultures and civilizations which used these substances religiously or in ceremonies, etc., we need to realize that we're probably not Rastafarian, probably not sadhus, we're probably not a South American shaman, we're probably not a Native American. So in reality, we can justify the usage in our minds by, oh, dude, it's totally safe and cool because shamans have been using it forever, or sadhus in India use it this, or Rastafarians do that, or Native Americans do this. But in reality, that's not us, most likely, because we're living in a different world. We're living in a modern world, which is very far removed from that world. And again, it really ties into just the obvious common sense aspect of really paying attention to set and setting and being able to understand context. So we really need to, from that point, take a look at the bigger picture and look around at the people that we were surrounded with, or people that we know that have used these substances for long periods of time, and ask ourselves, are they living the life that we want? Are they manifesting the things that we want? The answer is usually and most likely no, with some obvious and rare exceptions. So that really just ties into that previous justification which I pointed out, in that we can think, oh, well, it's okay to do this or to do this or do that because these other people did it. In reality, we aren't those other people living in that time. And if you look around at the other people around you who are using the stuff and following that kind of program, take a look and see if they're really like manifesting the results. So from there, the next point that I want to make, and really the most important point, which really encapsulates everything else that we've talked about, is that these things are not to be played with, and they're not to be taken lightly, because they have very profound, impactful effects on the human nervous system. And it's something that we should be knowledgeable of and prepared for, and it's not something we should use just for a good time. It's something that should have a clear purpose and intention, and really be approached with common sense, and most importantly, pay attention to like set and setting, and pay attention to doing your research and knowing what you're getting yourself into, and having knowledgeable people like a shaman or like someone who's actually grounded and knows what they're talking about to advise on subjects. Because like I said before, it's really easy to get carried away in extremes and read people like Tim Leary or people of that nature who were just pretty far off on one extreme, or to be on the other extreme with the prohibitionists who make up all kind of weird stories to try to discourage the usage. So hopefully what I'm trying to do, or hopefully what I'm doing in this video, is just providing somewhere in the middle an obvious and more common sense perspective. So the last point that I want to make is that, so maybe you're a person who's taken these substances and you've had a cosmic experience, or you understand that consciousness is infinite and non-local, and that you're much bigger than your body or your ego or any of those things. So my response is, so what? What are you going to do with it? What's going to be the application? What's going to be the usage? What's going to be the actual tangible result of that? Because in reality, all of those things which we found out to be true were true before we knew them to be true, and they'll be true after the fact. So it's really not that big of a deal to understand it. And I'm only saying that because it's so easy to get carried away in that sort of fanatical thing and just want to convert everyone and be a zealot, essentially. So the main point, again, that I'm trying to make is that how helpful is all this cosmic information if you still have a job that you hate, you still have relationships that are unfulfilling, you still have suppressed emotional baggage, and you still lead an imbalanced, unfulfilling lifestyle? And the reason I say that is because it's really important to ask yourself those questions and not just get carried away and caught up in your head or in fantasy or in imagination land or other dimensions. To actually be here and now, be in the body and be in this dimension and be grounded and be stable. So why I'm saying this is because it's really easy to lapse into passivity when we sort of start to first understand these things. So we can say, oh, I'm not my body, I'm not my ego, so this stuff doesn't matter. So in reality, that's setting up a huge trap and a lot of projection. So what I mean is, you could say, oh, I hate my job, but dude, I'm not my ego, like, it doesn't matter, or I don't need to clean my room, I'm not all this physical stuff's stupid, I'm a spiritual being. And you sort of just go down this whole trip which is really a lie. It's a facade. It's untrue, and it's not really going to manifest good results. Because sure, while we are spirit and while the world is spiritual, it's also physical. But greater than that, it's also neither of those things because it's a false distinction that we made up in our heads. In reality, it's all one and the same thing. So to put one higher or over the other doesn't really help anyone. So what I mean by projection, what I mean by a huge trap, is this is where people go into and start blaming society and blaming everyone around them and pointing out how bad everything is. You know, you might have a higher perspective on things and say, oh, everyone's just trapped in their ego. They go to jobs and they have to do this and they do that. Oh, they're so dumb. I can't believe society's built in this way. I hate money. Why do I have to have money? And like you just get broken down to this really dysfunctional level. Because while the qualms that we may have about society are true, society is not necessarily going away. We still have to like function and live and interact within this matrix. So in this way, it's just essentially another trap that we can fall into, where we can be kind of a fanatic and not really grow and get the results that we're looking for. So the main overall point is you know, if you had such an experience, such a massive, profound, psychedelic, life-changing experience, so what? What's the point? If you're such an infinite being, if you're such a part of the great oneness of reality, then why not create something great? Why not do something great? Why not help a lot of people? Why not be the best you that you can be? Because if you're infinite consciousness and you're infinitely interconnected with everything, why not? Why not do it? Why just sit around and jibber jabber and talk about experiences past when you could be creating amazing things in the here and now and in the future? So that's really the main overall point that I'm trying to make with this video. And last thing I'll say, which really ties into everything that I've been saying, is a quote from Alan Watts, who was a huge proponent and practitioner of all the Eastern arts, as well as a lot of the psychedelics. He tried pretty much all of them, I think. And his main point was, when you get the message, hang up the phone. So I'll leave you with that. Hopefully this has been helpful. It's kind of a lot of different points which I've wanted to condense into one video. But like I said, I've just gotten so many questions about the subject lately that I can't really ignore it anymore. So hopefully that's been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.